For some time I've been planning to do a tutorial about seeking letters of recommendation in particular. I've created a file concerning how to ask for letters of recommendation. You should always supply your own address, your phone number, where you can be reached, personal information about your date and place of birth. You also need to supply the name and the address of the person or persons, in particular, in most cases, the graduate schools to which you're applying, where the letter should be sent. You don't want any kind of tabs or special indenting or pictures, anything of that sort. Just leave it all out. Just a current resume, unformatted, simple text. In addition, you want to write a narrative telling about yourself written in the third person. Find the forms that the recommender is going to need. Usually you can download them from the internet. We'll talk about some of the sources in a moment. You need to type all of the information that you can in the form so that the referee doesn't have to fill that in. Handwritten forms are messy and don't look professional. I recommend not using them. Believe it or not, sometimes schools still require hard copy sent through the good old post office surface mail. Most schools, on the other hand, presently prefer digital electronic forms. You should always supply a digital version of the mailing address or addresses that the forms need to go to. You must also be sure to include the present GPA. If you've had a bad semester, you need to de-emphasize any bad semesters. You also need to give test scores, in particular the graduate record exam. Don't forget to put in extracurriculars, athletics, offices you've held, services you've performed that would supply the recommender with ammunition for giving you a very strong recommendation. Next, I want to look at a sample narrative written in the third person. Here's one that I've constructed. It's strictly fictional. Your purpose in writing this narrative is to tell about yourself the things that are most important to the recommenders you're going to ask for letters. Make sure that you include information about your GPA. Here's a section that does that. Also, talk about the GRE. If you've taken it, make sure that you mention the scores achieved on the verbal and also the quantitative, and mention that a transcript is available. If you plan to retake it, say that. So GPA and GRE, critical elements in this third-person narrative. Now, what's a third-person narrative? It means that you write about yourself as if you were somebody else writing about, in this fictional case, Rhonda Jordinsky. She was born in Lafayette, Louisiana, to George and Barbara on a certain date. Tells about her undergraduate degree and when she's scheduled to graduate. Oh, and by the way, I should change this. Avoid over-punctuating. You should include your mailing address and your email address, birth date, and that sort of thing should be included as well, and you see it is here. Let's also fix this one, lowercase. If you have messed up, you need to explain why that happened. Notice that Rhonda points out, prior to the change of her major from biology to speech pathology, her cumulative GPA, owing to obligations and illnesses outside her control, was 1.9 on a 4-point scale. If I can get my students to have an upward direction in their curve, that needs to be mentioned so that the recommenders have this ammunition to work with. When she comes to speech-language pathology, a field that she's interested in because of the brain aneurysm, because of the sibling that suffered the TBI, the traumatic brain injury. By the way, you would capitalize TBI if it were abbreviated. Notice also the punctuation here, speech language. Put the hyphen in there. This is the way ASHA does it. Incidentally, we never refer to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette by the abbreviation ULL. We always use UL, and if you're applying to this university, you definitely don't want to say ULL. If I were going to abbreviate the University of Louisiana in this text, it would be like that. So explain why things didn't go swimmingly on the transcript when the subject matter was biology, whereas when the switch was made to speech-language pathology, she goes to a 4.0 on a 4-point scale, completed 24 hours of coursework while she was working 15 hours per week. On October 22, Rhonda earned a cumulative total on GRE of 296. Keep in mind that you want these scores to be as high as possible, and if they're low, you should perhaps consider retaking the test after doing some preparation. Next, let's consider some of the places that a person might want to apply to graduate school, and I'll use as examples graduate schools offering programs in speech-language pathology. Here's a website, U.S. News and World Report, offering rankings and reviews of the top graduate schools in the country. There are something upwards of 300 plus programs in speech-language pathology offering the master's degree in the United States. Scrolling down the list, you can see that Louisiana is not listed on the first page of the first 25 programs. In fact, if we go to the second page and we search for any of the Louisiana schools that offer that degree, we don't find it there. And then when we get to number 52, we discover Louisiana State University at Baton Rouge. It's the top program in the state of Louisiana according to the U.S. News and World Report ranking system. The rankings, by the way, are established by a method that it might be useful to just take a quick look at. They're based on the results of peer assessment surveys sent to deans, other administrators, or faculty members at accredited degree programs or schools in each of the disciplines examined. All the schools were sent the same number of surveys, so presumably they're on an equal footing. Respondents rated the academic quality on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is marginal, 5 is outstanding. So that explains the scale. Next, returning to the U.S. News Education Survey, Louisiana State University tied with Auburn, Miami, New York Medical, New York University, Northeastern University of Georgia, Kentucky, Vermont. In position 62, tied with Brigham Young, Duquesne, Kansas, Marquette, Michigan, Northern Illinois, Portland, Texas Tech, University of New Mexico, and Washington State University. Tied with all of those is Louisiana State University Medical Center. Moving on, we finally come to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette in position number 73. Next we come to Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center at Shreveport, ranked in position 84, tied with a whole bunch of other universities, but behind the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. In position 106, tied with a bunch of other universities, including the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, a program that I recently evaluated with reference to their PhD in communication sciences and disorders. In position 181, we find Southeastern Louisiana University, one of the institutions that offers the master's degree in our state. And tied with Southeastern is Texas A&M University at Kingsville, where Dr. Stephen David Aller is a professor. Also in position 181 is the University of Louisiana at Monroe. Next, on the following page, we find Louisiana Tech University at Rushton, in position 204. Over in Beaumont, Texas, at position 220, we find Lamar University, one of the schools that our students sometimes apply to for a graduate program. They quit listing the rank after position 229, though they do list some additional universities, including Southern University and A&M College at Baton Rouge. So, looking then to LSU Health in New Orleans, here's their webpage, and if we look to speech-language pathology, they give as their minimal requirements a verbal and quantitative combination of 296 on the graduate record exam, GPA of 3.0 or higher are the minimums for consideration in admission. Here's a form from Southeastern. So pulled up the one from the University of Louisiana, which requires some additional information, including date of birth, the street address, city, state, country, zip code, student ID number, the graduate program to which the application is made. Then you have, again, the option to waive access to the letter. That's the old paper method. Now, the truth is that most schools are going to electronic submissions of letters of reference. At this website for CSDCAS, which stands for the Communication Science and Disorders Centralized Application Service, only accepts letters electronically. And you can read the reasons why right here. Here's what the reference form looks like. Some schools prefer the hard copy, but in fact, if they're using this service, the letter will only be accepted electronically. And then the reference request form also allows the recommender an opportunity to write a letter. I think that people who submit just this form with these little marks in here are perhaps condemning the person they're recommending with faint praise, as the saying goes. With all the foregoing in mind, let's sum up what we've talked about. When asking for letters of reference, you got to supply all of the information that's necessary for the person who's going to write the letter. Who you are, where you live, where you were born, current narrative, no fancy fonts, just text. Leave out the part about, how much you want to change the world. Just tell us about your GPA, your GRE. Show us through your actions what kind of person you are, rather than telling us that you're enthusiastic or a hard worker or a self-starter and those kinds of things. And by the way, you should also do a CV resume where you tell all of the details in bullets about yourself. Finally, and this can hardly be overemphasized because I always like to do this in person, but I'm going to put it here in this tutorial. Don't ask for a letter of recommendation from someone who is apt to write a bad letter. Make sure that the people you ask for letters are people you trust, people who know you well, and people who will write good letters on your behalf. If you're doubtful, don't ask them.